He's one of the most talented footballers to ever lace up a pair of boots, and believe me, he's not shy about letting you know it either. Zlatan Ibrahimović is one of the most bombastic, larger-than-life characters to ever take to the pitch. This episode of More Than Just a Score goes out to my nephew Ethan for his birthday, so happy birthday to you, Ethan. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's greatness is undeniable. Don't believe me? Just ask him.
As a footballer, you are 10 out of 10. What about now?
11 out of 10.
You got better?
Much better.
What about as a person? How much out of 10?
20 out of 10.
As a person?
Yes.
But the Zlatan Ibrahimović story begins far from the bright lights of the world's grandest football grounds. He was born on October 3rd, 1981 in Malmö, Sweden, in a tough neighborhood called Rosengård, a place that would mold his character and his view of the world. Although his parents met in Sweden, both had immigrated to the Scandinavian country from the former Yugoslavia. Zlatan's father is a Bosnian Muslim, while his mother is a Catholic Croatian. Life at home was not easy, money was often tight, and young Zlatan grew up surrounded by challenges that taught him early on how to fend for himself. Rosengård could be rough, and so could life inside his home. His parents separated when he was still young, and he moved between them during his childhood. Although he spent the majority of his time living with his father, there were difficult days, moments of loneliness, and times when football became more than just a game. It became an escape, a way to feel freedom, and a place where he could express himself without apology. Like so many of the world's great players, he first started kicking a ball around the neighborhood streets and playgrounds where space was limited, so every touch mattered. In those cramped, unforgiving settings, Zlatan developed the skills that would later define him. Quick feet, creativity, balance, and a fearless instinct to try things others wouldn't dare. He combined swagger with raw technique, and to some adults, he looked a little too rebellious, but to others, his gifts were clearly evident. In truth, he was a bit of both. Football also gave Zlatan structure. He joined local clubs in Malmö and began to stand out, though his path was never perfectly smooth. There were times where he nearly drifted away from the sport, distracted by the pull of the streets and the anger he carried from the instability around him, but the game kept calling him back. Each time he returned, he seemed even more determined to prove he belonged. By his teenage years, his determination became impossible to ignore. Coaches noticed not just his talent, but his edge. Zlatan didn't play timidly. He wanted the ball, wanted the spotlight, and wanted defenders to know exactly who he was. That fierce confidence would later make him famous, but it was born in childhood, in a neighborhood where weakness could be exploited, and belief in yourself was often your strongest shield. At Malmö, his hometown club, the rough talent began to take proper shape. He was still unpolished, still unpredictable, but he possessed a rare sense of imagination. Zlatan wasn't simply learning football, he was inventing his own version of it, blending street flair with physical power. Before the world knew his name, before the trophies and the headlines, there was a boy from Rosengård using football to rise above hardship. His early life wasn't easy, but that made him harder and more resilient. It also made him bold and laid the foundation for one of football's most unforgettable personalities. Early in his career with his hometown club, Zlatan was still an unpredictable talent, learning how to harness his gifts. He had come through the youth ranks with a reputation, skilled most definitely, but also stubborn, unconventional, and unwilling to conform. Coaches saw flashes of brilliance mixed with moments of frustration. Zlatan played on instinct, shaped by the streets where he grew up, where creativity mattered more than structure. When he broke into Malmö's first team in 1999, he was still a teenager, trying to find his place in professional football. The Swedish league was not the global stage he would come to dominate, but it was the proving ground that he needed. At first, consistency eluded him. Some matches he dazzled with flashes of technique, a clever turn, a daring dribble, a glimpse of the audacity that would define his career. Other times, he drifted, still learning the discipline required at the highest level. But even in those early days, there was something undeniable about him. He carried himself with a confidence that brought with it a hint of defiance. He demanded the ball, believed he could change games, and slowly began to back it up. By the 2000 season, his performances started to draw attention beyond Sweden. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger took notice of the tall striker with unusual footwork and a fearless approach. Wenger's attempts, though, to lure Ibra to North London on a trial came up short because Zlatan doesn't do auditions. His words, not mine. Zlatan's reputation was growing more with each dazzling play. In many ways, he felt bigger than the moment. Like a player destined for a larger stage, that opportunity came when European clubs began circling. In 2001, Ajax made their move. The Dutch giants, known for developing young talent, saw something special in Zlatan, a player who could be refined without losing his edge. The transfer marked a turning point. Leaving Malmö was not just a career step, it was a leap into a different footballing world. As he departed Sweden, Zlatan carried more than just ambition. He also took with him the lessons of his upbringing and the belief that he belonged at the top. At Ajax, the stage would be bigger, the expectations higher, and the scrutiny sharper. But for Zlatan Ibrahimović, it was exactly where his journey was meant to go. At Ajax, Ibrahimović began to transform from raw potential into a bona fide superstar, but the journey to the top wasn't always easy. Arriving in 2001, he stepped into a system known for discipline and technical excellence. At first, he struggled. The structure that he was asked to conform to at the Dutch giant clashed with his instinctive street-born style. There were moments where he found himself frustrated on the bench, learning that talent alone was not enough. But his game was showing signs of growth, and once it did, his star rose quickly. Zlatan refined his style without losing his flair. His touch became sharper. His movement, mixed with his intelligence, saw his already immense confidence grow into something more commanding. One unforgettable moment came in August of 2004, in a domestic league match in which he weaved through multiple Breda defenders to score a goal that was completely jaw-dropping.
Ibrahimović. Goed ingehouden. En nu dan een keer schiet ook. Maradona. Zidane. Zij kunnen het. En Ibrahimović ook.
That goal offered a glimpse of the brilliance that would come to define him and would also be voted Goal of the Year by Eurosport viewers. By that time, he had also helped Ajax to win league titles and had established himself as one of Europe's most intriguing young forwards. Zlatan's meteoric rise was turning heads in Italy as well. In 2004, Juventus brought him into Serie A league known for its tactical discipline and defensive mastery. It was a different challenge entirely. At Juve, he adapted once again, becoming more complete. He learned patience, positioning, and the art of playing against the world's toughest defenders. His performances helped Juventus to domestic success, winning Serie A titles, but controversy loomed. The Calciopoli scandal in 2006 shook Italian football. Juventus were stripped of the 2004 and 2005 Serie A championships and were also relegated. Zlatan, unwilling to follow the club into Serie B, made a decisive move. He transferred to Inter Milan, stepping into a team hungry for dominance. At Inter, everything clicked. Zlatan became the focal point, the leader, and the difference maker. Between 2006 and 2009, he powered the club to multiple Serie A titles, combining strength, skill, and audacity in a way few could match.
And Crespo does well. The ball played forward for Ibrahimović. Ibrahimović! The back flick! It's in the back of the net, and Ibrahimović has backflipped that into the goal, and what a display from the Swede!
He scored spectacular goals, delivered in crucial moments, and embraced the pressure of being the star. By the end of his first stint in Italy, he was no longer just a talented player, he was a force to be reckoned with. After conquering Italy, Zlatan Ibrahimović moved to Spain. He joined Barcelona in 2009, and it felt like the meeting of two powerful forces. Fresh off of dominating Serie A, he joined a team already defined by brilliance, led by Lionel Messi, and guided by Pep Guardiola. On paper, it seemed like a perfect fit, a world-class striker entering a system built on precision and control. At first, it worked. Zlatan scored early and often, showcasing his strength and ability to finish in tight spaces. He added a different dimension to Barcelona's fluid style, offering a physical presence that complemented their intricate passing game. For a time, he seemed to be thriving. But beneath the surface, tension was growing. Guardiola's vision began to shift, with Messi moving into a more central role. That change pushed Ibrahimović out of his natural position and limited his influence. Where there was once momentum, it would be replaced by frustration, and the relationship between player and manager started to fracture. Though he helped Barcelona win La Liga, Zlatan's time at Camp Nou felt unsettled. It was a chapter marked by flashes of brilliance, but also by a clash of styles that never fully aligned. Ibra's departure from Barcelona in 2010 presented him with an opportunity for a reset. After a season marked by tension and unfulfilled promise, he returned to familiar ground in Italy, joining AC Milan on loan before making the move permanent. Back in Serie A, he rediscovered a sense of control that had been missing during his time in Spain. Milan gave him the freedom to lead, to be the focal point, and to impose his personality on matches. He responded immediately. Zlatan became the heartbeat of the team, combining his physical dominance with technical brilliance. Goals came regularly. He lifted Milan and guided them to the 2010-11 Serie A title, and with it restoring the club's place among Italy's elite. In a league built on tactics and discipline, he thrived once again, playing with confidence and authority. But as quickly as stability returned, change was never far away. In 2012, amid financial pressures, Milan made the difficult decision to sell several key players. Zlatan, now one of the biggest names in world football, made a blockbuster move to Paris Saint-Germain. In Paris, a new challenge awaited. PSG were building something ambitious. Fueled by new ownership and a vision of European dominance, Zlatan was not just a signing, he was a statement. He embraced the role instantly, bringing swagger, leadership, and an expectation of success. His impact was immediate. Goals, trophies, and headlines followed as Zlatan became the face of PSG's rise. Ibra's move to Paris Saint-Germain in 2012 marked the beginning of a transformation both for the player and the club. PSG had ambition and powerful ownership to back those ambitions, but they needed an identity, and Zlatan would become that identity. From the moment he first stepped onto the pitch in Paris, he carried himself like a man who expected to win. His presence alone changed the tone of the club. Teammates looked to him, opponents feared him, and fans quickly embraced him. He wasn't just there to score goals. He was there to lead and to win. And he delivered immediately. Zlatan's first season set the standard, combining his power, precision, and flair for the spectacular. He scored with thunderous strikes, delicate chips, and acrobatic finishes that seemed to defy physics.
Olha o Ibra! Olha o Ibra! Olha o Ibra! Ibra! Gol! Do Paris Saint-Germain!
Each goal was a statement, reinforcing his status as one of the game's most unique talents. PSG claimed the Liga title, and Zlatan stood at the center of it, but it didn't stop there. Season after season, he elevated both his own performances and the expectations around him. He broke records, including becoming the club's all-time leading scorer. More importantly, he made winning a habit. Domestic dominance became routine, with PSG filling the trophy case with league titles, cups, and accolades under his leadership. The Ibrahimović influence extended beyond the numbers, too. He brought a mentality that refused to accept anything less than excellence. In big moments, he demanded the ball. In difficult matches, he imposed himself physically and mentally. He was as much a personality as he was a player, confident, outspoken, and unapologetically himself. There were challenges, of course, particularly in Europe, where PSG sought to establish themselves among the continent's elite. While Champions League glory remained elusive, Zlatan's performances ensured the club was always a part of the conversation. He gave PSG credibility on the biggest stage. By the time he departed in 2016, Zlatan had left an undeniable mark. He hadn't just scored goals or won trophies, he'd helped redefine what the club could be. With him, ambition morphed into expectation, and those expectations translated into success. In Paris, Zlatan ruled the pitch, and in doing so, he left behind a legacy that would shape the club long after his departure. In 2016, after shining brightly in the City of Lights, Ibra moved to the northwest of England and Manchester United. He brought with him more goals and more belief in what he and the club could accomplish, despite time beginning to take a toll. At 34 years old, many questioned whether he could still dominate at the highest level in the intensity of the Premier League. Zlatan answered the questions and critics rather quickly. From the opening weeks, he imposed himself on English football. His presence was unmistakable, strong, confident, and unapologetically Zlatan. He scored crucial goals, including a brace in the Community Shield that immediately announced his arrival. Under Jose Mourinho, he became the focal point of United's attack. As the season progressed, Zlatan continued to deliver with consistency. He scored in big moments, none bigger than the League Cup final, where his 87th minute goal secured the trophy for United. Champions League glory always eluded Ibrahimović throughout his illustrious career, but with United he would taste continental success, winning the Europa League in 2017, despite being sidelined for the final in Stockholm against his former club Ajax due to injury. Ibra would spend the 2018 season at Old Trafford before crossing the ocean to take North America by storm. When he arrived at LA Galaxy in 2018, he did so in typical Zlatan fashion, announcing himself not with quiet resolve, but rather with bold confidence. Major League Soccer had seen stars before, but few had arrived with such a commanding presence. Ibrahimović wasn't just joining the league, he intended to own it. His debut was unforgettable. Coming off the bench in the El Tráfico derby against LAFC, he scored twice, including a stunning long-range volley that instantly became one of the most iconic goals in MLS history. In that moment, Zlatan introduced himself to American soccer in a way that only Zlatan could. Throughout his time with the Galaxy, Zlatan delivered exactly what he promised. Goals came in bunches and were often spectacular. He scored his 500th career goal at BMO Field in Toronto with a flair that had marked so many of his other goals.
Here's Dos Santos, lifts it into the area. Ibra scores! That is number 500 for Zlatan Ibrahimović, and only he can get to 500 in that way.
Well, you said the Galaxy needed to take something positive out of this. Well, no matter what, even the Toronto fans are cheering him on. This is unbelievable. That goal was absolutely fantastic.
Now, I happened to be there that night, and the brilliance I witnessed left me and nearly all of those in attendance in awe. Along with a group of other reporters, I had a chance to speak with him about the jaw-dropping moment, and his response was unmistakably Zlatan.
Compliments to Toronto because they will be remembered for my 500 goal.
I've been around this place for a long time. That's the first time I've ever seen an away goal get a standing ovation.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's not the first time I get standing ovation from the away team, so it's nice because wherever I came here in MLS, I mean, I haven't given them these goals, absolutely not, but I feel the away supporters becomes like my home supporters because I see them excited when they see me play, and even if I miss, they pretend to whistle, but they don't really whistle because they do that because they want to show that they are loyal to their home team. But deep inside, I know they're my fans, so that is cool.
Yet his impact went beyond just scoring. He raised the profile of MLS in the way that David Beckham and Thierry Henry had done before him. He brought global attention to the league with his skill and personality. In a city largely defined by silver screen magic, Zlatan created football cinema with his name on the marquee as the main character. But the Hollywood ending in the form of a championship eluded him. His legacy in Los Angeles, though, was undeniable. In just 2 seasons, he made moments that set the stage for an even brighter start to make the jump from Europe to the United States. The final act of Zlatan's club career was almost like a story coming full circle, with a return to AC Milan in 2020. He was now 38 years old, and many wondered if he could still make an impact, but he was never one to listen to the doubters. Milan, once a giant of European football, was also searching for identity and belief, while Zlatan brought both. From the moment he stepped back onto the pitch, his presence was undeniable. He didn't just play, he was a leader. Young players looked to him, veterans fed off of his energy, and the club rediscovered its edge. Goals followed, and with it, the infectious confidence that was a hallmark for Zlatan. The 2021-22 season became the defining chapter of his return. Despite injuries limiting his minutes, his influence remained constant. Milan surged forward, driven by a mix of youth and experience. The club secured the Serie A title, and it marked a remarkable revival and was a fitting triumph for the player who had helped spark it. As his body, though, began to break down with time, Zlatan's role evolved, but his presence never faded. In 2023, he announced the end of his playing career, closing the curtain on one of football's most extraordinary journeys. He left the game as he lived it, on his own terms, with unmatched confidence and a legacy that stretched far beyond goals. In addition to his famed club career, Ibra was also a fixture in international football as a key member of the Swedish national team for more than 2 decades. Making his debut in 2001, he arrived with the same confidence that would define his club journey, quickly becoming the focal point of the national side. Sweden had seen some great players before, but Zlatan was different, with his blend of technical brilliance, physical dominance, and that unshakable belief in himself. Early tournament showed flashes of his potential, but it was at UEFA Euro 2004 where the world really started to take notice. His backheel goal against Italy was about more than just skill. It was audacious, a moment that captured everything Zlatan represented. From that point on, he became Sweden's centerpiece, its heartbeat, the player that was expected to create something out of nothing. As the years passed, Zlatan carried the weight of a nation's hopes. Whether it was at European Championships or World Cups, Sweden's chances often rested on his shoulders, and he embraced that responsibility, scoring spectacular goals and delivering performances that kept the Swedes competitive on the biggest stage. One of the most iconic moments of his career came in 2012, when he scored an incredible bicycle kick against England from long range.
Well, there's a long ball through, and
oh my God, an insane goal! I've just seen the most insane goal I have ever seen on a football pitch. Incredible Zlatan Ibrahimović. World class.
Joe Hart has come off his line, headed the ball into the path of Ibrahimović, who has just lobbed the ball from long distance, beautifully, like a trick shot, into the back of the net. And it's Sweden 4, England 2.
Oh my days, Zlatan Ibrahimović. I want to go and give you a man hug. That is the beautiful game, played in a beautiful way. Oh my days, what a finish!
It was a goal that defied imagination and earned global acclaim. It was also a reminder that Zlatan was not just effective, he was extraordinary. Though Sweden never captured a major international trophy during his time, his impact wasn't diminished. He became the country's all-time leading scorer and a symbol of pride for Swedish football. After initially retiring from international duty in 2016, he would later return and prove once again that his story wasn't linear or predictable. He would take part in qualifying for the 2022 World Cup, but was only a spectator for the tournament in Qatar due to Sweden's failure to qualify for the tournament. On March 24th, 2023, Zlatan laced up his boots one last time for the national team, entering late in a 3-0 loss to Belgium. After that game, he stepped off the pitch and into retirement. For over 2 decades, he had been one of football's most commanding figures, a player whose confidence, charisma, and unwavering belief in himself radiated. Retirement didn't silence that presence, it simply redirected it. Almost immediately, Zlatan remained close to the game. He took on an advisory role with AC Milan, offering guidance to a new generation of players navigating the pressures of top-level football. Off the pitch, he continued to build his personal brand. From business ventures to media appearances, he embraced opportunities that matched his larger-than-life personality. He spoke openly, often with the same sharp wit and confidence that defined his playing days, reminding the world that Zlatan was never going to fade quietly into the background. Yet beyond the headlines, there was also a sense of reflection. The relentless grind of professional football had given way to a different kind of rhythm. Time that had once been consumed by training and travel now allowed space for perspective, for family, and for shaping what comes next. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and career of one of the biggest personalities to ever compete at the highest levels of club and international soccer. As always, if you enjoyed this story, help us out by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. And if you have any story ideas that you'd like to hear more about, feel free to drop them in the comments and join us next time when we look for more than just a score.